Hey everyone, Tech Steve here, and you probably remember this TV. This is the 65-inch Hisense U8K, and on this video, I'm going to give you my best setting using Calman software and AutoCal. Now, calibration software is subjective because you can set it up for different room environments. You also can set it up for the different lightings and tones that you like. So with this automatic settings, these are some of the settings that I'm going to recommend, but keep in mind there's plenty out there, and the great thing is I'll never charge you for calibration settings. And just so you know, I'm using the Portrait G1 display for a pattern generator, and I'm using the Calibrated Display Pro HL to pick up all the different colors on the television. The last thing I want to mention is that this is a 65-inch television, and when it comes to calibration, you should have an expert to come out to your house and do your television at a cost about $200 to $300. But my settings are free to try, and if you like them, go for it and you can keep them. Now, if you have a 55-inch or larger television that's in this series, these settings probably will not work, but they're free to try. And if you live in the UK and you have a Hisense television that's powered by Vita, chances are the settings will not work, but again, you can always try. With that being said, I'm going to show you the HDR mode and the SDR mode. Let's get into it. What you're seeing right now is the TV in theater day mode, and I think it's a great looking picture just right out of the factory. And this is theater night mode. As you can see, the picture does get a lot softer and it gets a lot darker because this is set up to give you the best picture quality at nighttime. And this is in filmmakers mode with the calibrated settings. So as you can see, I have it set up with a little bit more brightness, but you can go dim that down. But I just want to show you the different picture qualities in SDR mode. So now I'm going to show you the settings, but keep in mind you can choose any picture profile on your television, but I recommend something that you don't use. Since I don't use filmmakers mode, I chose that so I can show you the differences in the picture test. If you decide to use these settings, here's the configuration that I'm using. As you can see right now, it is in filmmakers mode calibrated, but you would only get this if you're using calibrated software like I did using a computer. I also have it set up for all the sources, and I turned off all the different automatic settings so the TV would not try to adjust itself to override the settings that we put in the TV. Now when it comes to brightness, I have the local dimming at high, the peak brightness at high, the brightness at 75, but again, you can adjust this if you don't like the brightness of it. Contrast is at 40, black levels at 0, dark details is off, and the gamma is at 2.2. Now keep in mind there is a 2.4 if you want to have a little bit darker picture, but 2.2 is pretty standard. Active contrast is turned off, but if you turn it back on, the picture will change slightly, but this is all about your personal taste and help you find the right settings. As far as HDMI dynamic range, we have it on auto, but you can limit it or you can make it full, but it does change the picture quality, so I recommend just leave it on automatic. Now there is a HDR simulator. I do recommend just leave this turned off. Next we'll look at the colors, and right now everything is pretty factory except for I did change the color temperature to warm 2. Now under clarity, this is something that you can go change if you like to, but sharpness is at 25. If you're getting some type of gradient in the picture, you can turn this back on. Super resolution is turned on. Noise reduction is off. And I do recommend, if you're planning on using this setting for movies, that you leave it in filmmakers mode. But if you need to, you can go down here and you can choose custom setting where you can adjust the judder and the blur reduction. But if everything looks good, just leave it on film. And motion clearness is turned off. Now here's the calibration settings. The Calman software set up a 2-point calibration, so all you need to do is go into your white balance and press on 2-point. Now from the software and the testing equipment, we're going to leave the red offset to 0, turn your green offset to -2, your blues offset to -3, your red gain to -4, your green gain to +3, and this TV did have a lot of blue in it when I was doing the calibration, so the software chose to do -25. But keep in mind, if you don't like these settings, you can always reset it here at the bottom. Like I said earlier, we're not doing any kind of 20-point, nor would you be changing any of the gamma calibration. Now, if you decide to buy the Calman software, this is where you turn the service off, and at the bottom you could clear the settings. And if you don't like the picture profile, no matter which one you choose, you can press reset here at the bottom and it'll go right back to factory. So now I'm going to show you the HDR settings, but keep in mind, if you want to put these settings in your television, you need to find some HDR content, whether it's YouTube, Netflix, Prime Video, and then you want to go into the settings with the picture on pause and add these settings to it. So this is what the picture looks like in HDR theater mode, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like with the calibrated settings to show you what kind of improvements that you may achieve by changing the settings in your television. And this is what the TV looks like in HDR filmmakers mode, and keep in mind that these are calibrated settings. I will tell you that a lot of settings are the same as an SDR mode, but as you can see there at the top that it is in calibrated mode. Again, we have all the sources turned off. I have the local dimming at high, peak brightness at high, and as you can see here, the brightness is at 100%. Now you can adjust this, but when I calibrated it, I want to make sure that the TV had the brighter picture. So again, if you don't like this picture, just dim it down to your likings, but it will make a difference on how the TV actually performs. Now we do have the contrast at 50, black levels at 0, dark details turned off. If you turn it on, you get just a little bit more of the shadow details that come out. And the gamma is at ST 2084. Active contrast is turned off, but as you can see here, if you need a little bit more shadow details, again, you can put it in medium mode. Now this is grayed out, but it's dynamic tone mapping. And I do have the HDMI dynamic range at auto. But if you want to see the difference, there's limited and there's full. But we'll just leave that to automatic. We have the colors at 50%, and I do have it set up at warm 2. And you can see that the color space is at BT 2020 that gives you a lot more colors than Rec 709. Under clarity, we have the sharpness at 0. Again, everything I'm showing you can be adjusted. Smooth gradients off, super resolution on. Filmmakers mode for your motion enhancements, just like the SDR mode. Now this is the calibration settings. Again, you won't be touching color tuner. Only thing you're going to be touching in this menu is white balance, and we're going to do a 2-point. Now this looks very familiar. We have the red at 0, the green offset at -2, the blue offset at -3, the red at -5, the green gain at 3, and again that blue level is pretty high on this television, so crank it down to -25. Again, we're not touching the 20-point, nor are we touching the gamma calibration. And if you don't like this calibration setting, you go down here and press reset, and it'll put the colors back in that picture profile just like it did when you first purchased it. And here's another example of the differences. This is HDR theater, calibration mode, theater, calibration mode. And the biggest thing I can notice in the calibration mode, it makes the skin look a little bit more natural. Again, there's the theater mode, so you can see the two pictures. And then there's the calibrated mode. So that's all we have on this video. I hope these settings work for you. And if you try it on any other size, if you don't mind, leave me a comment below, because I would love to see if these settings actually work on other size televisions. With that being said, thanks a lot for watching. Hope this video helps you out. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm Tech Steve. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.